On Friday night, Roger Goodell, using the NFL official Twitter handle, dropped a video in response to many star players basically voicing their concerns and voicing their frustration with the initial statement that the NFL put out. So if you missed it on Thursday night, led by Michael Thomas reached out to star NFL players like Saquon Barkley, like DeAndre Hopkins. You had Patrick Mahomes in there. You had many prominent NFL players basically put out a video all stating together that they want to see the NFL take more action. They were not happy with the initial statement that the NFL put out there, and they want to basically hear the NFL say they have their back. Say Black Lives Matter. Say you agree with our cause, and actually not just agree, actually help us accomplish that. And that was put out on Thursday. And on Friday night, surprisingly, Roger Goodell taped a video in response to that player video that was demanding the NFL do better, basically. And I want to play Roger's video. It's 1:20 seconds, I think, but it's important, I think, because this is something the NFL has never, ever done before and really didn't have to do. So here's Roger Goodell responding to the players, the star players, asking for the NFL doing more. Here's his video in response.
It's been a difficult time for our country, in particular, Black people in our country. First, my condolences to the families of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and all the families who have endured police brutality. We, the National Football League, condemn racism and the systematic oppression of Black people. We, the National Football League, admit we were wrong for not listening to NFL players earlier and encourage all to speak out and peacefully protest. We, the National Football League, believe Black Lives Matter. I personally protest with you and want to be part of the much-needed change in this country. Without Black players, there would be no National Football League. And the protests around the country are emblematic of the centuries of silence, inequality, and oppression of Black players, coaches, fans, and staff. We are listening. I am listening. And I will be reaching out to players who have raised their voices and others on how we can improve and go forward for a better and more united NFL family.
So that's Roger Goodell, obviously, again, responding to what the players said, and not only responding to what the players said, really speaking out and really giving his passionate thoughts and interesting thoughts, I think, for the first time, because really, we've never heard the NFL speak like this. We never heard Roger Goodell speak like this. So this is why watching this video, watching it a few times, and now if this is the first time you hear it, I really do think change is actually coming. And it's just a video. Obviously, no actions have been done. But this is why I totally believe, Lisa, and I'm optimistic that change in this country is coming. Here's why. First of all, if you're a fan of the NFL, you know, it's almost impossible to get Roger Goodell to feel human, to seem human. Anytime he speaks, it feels robotic. Anytime he speaks, it's all about business. There's really no insight into his life, no insight to what he likes, no insight to really even feelings. Anytime he discusses whether it's player discipline, whether it's a tragic event that happens, whether it's a happy event that happens, he's robotic. It's all just one mode for Roger Goodell. So to hear him actually speak like this, to hear him say these words, Black Lives Matter, to hear him say we were wrong and not listening earlier. When does the NFL actually admit fault of their own? They rarely do it. So I'll commend the NFL for owning it, for realizing what they did back in 2016 and 2017. Looking at Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, looking at other players then taking Colin Kaepernick's lead and basically trying to prevent it as much as possible, try to silence their voices as much as possible and contributing to the problem instead of helping to be a solution. I respect the NFL and I commend the NFL for admitting their fault, even if they didn't mention Colin Kaepernick by name. Right? He said, we apologize for not listening to players' voices earlier. Obviously, we know the one player and the main player whose voice was heard loud and clear, the NFL went to silence and wanted to quiet down. So while, sure, it may be reminiscent of the NCAA, because this is, I think, a fair comparison, right? The NCAA, as they are similar to NFL, where they will try to hold on to any rules they have and basically do not want change, no matter what. And eventually, when they're forced to do change, they will do it and then try to act like they are doing it out of their own good. An example here, at least for the NFL, is obviously we know Colin Kaepernick, 2016, 2017, he helped a lot of players, whether it's take a knee or speak out on social injustice. Well, after he's out of the league, after the 2017 season, after the 2016 season, the NFL starts a year later, the NFL Social Justice Initiative. A year after Colin Kaepernick was out of the league, they finally created a program to focus on social injustice, and almost felt like just a way for the players, to almost be quiet. Hey, listen, this is what we're doing. We're finally doing this. It's something here, so now you can stop protesting. But why I do watch this video, and I do actually take Roger Goodell at his word that he was wrong, that the NFL respects Black Lives and accepts Black Lives Matter, and are willing to help, is because the NFL rarely, if ever, takes a stance that would alienate or upset a portion of their fan base. Right? If you watch The Last Dance, remember, Michael Jordan was heavily criticized because when it came to social issues, when it came to racial injustice, and the platform he had as a black man in this country, the most popular athlete maybe we've ever had, ever in history. Global icon. Obviously, he's an icon in the United States. And his weight, his platform is so powerful. But remember, he never spoke out against racial injustice. He never spoke out about political issues, and never used his platform to help those that are suffering. Remember, he had that famous quote, Republicans buy shoes too. Trying to basically toe the line down the middle, not upset Democrats, not upset Republicans, not upset people who like the president, not upset people who are against the president. It was good business for you to be liked by everybody. And that's what the NFL up to this point has done. Remember, going back to 2016, 2017, when Colin Kaepernick first started taking a knee and other players followed suit. Remember, this was the most divisive NFL topic, maybe sports topic we've ever had. Working at sports radio, at CBS Sports Radio those 2 years, the calls that we got week in and week out about Colin Kaepernick, about players protesting, we got a lot of them. Anytime you said those two words, Colin Kaepernick, the phone lines lit up. Everyone had opinions. Most of them were negative. Most of them were, what is this guy doing? Get him out of the league. They shouldn't be doing this. And the NFL heard those complaints, heard President Trump voice his displeasure, and then in 2018 put a policy where players could get fined if they kneel for the national anthem. So the NFL heard the voices, they heard the discontent, heard the vocal majority of fans, of political pundits that did not support or agree with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, and they listened and they didn't want to get anyone upset, so they put a policy in 2018, hey, you take a knee, we can fine you. Before, it was up to the team. But they put that policy in back in 2018 again to cater to those fans who are upset, to make sure and keep as much audience as possible. Because guess what? Guess what also happened when players taking a knee? The ratings were down, and the big talk is not about the play on the field. It was about these players taking a knee and their social injustice causes. That was the discussion. And obviously, it was elevated and escalated by President Trump weighing in constantly and giving his thoughts. So think about this. This is with this video, with Roger Goodell basically agreeing with those players who are upset, taking their side and saying, I will protest with you. This is the NFL and Roger Goodell going directly against Donald Trump for the first time since he's become president. He didn't want players kneeling. Okay, 2018 will put a policy in, players can't knee. His voters are upset. Okay, we're going to do our best to make sure that we don't show the anthem on television. We don't show the players that are kneeling as much as possible to try to not bring light to it. This is the first time they're going against Donald Trump. This is the first time that they are purposely going and alienating a portion of their fan base. And this is interesting because the Washington Post had an article over the weekend basically going into the decision by Roger Goodell to make this video. Right? Obviously, we know he made this video and apparently did not tell owners. He told a select few owners, but for the most part, a lot of people in the NFL, in the front offices, in the NFL league office, were surprised that this video was put out. They did not see this coming. It was not a known thing that Roger Goodell was going to make a video and say what he said. It's interesting because basically that Washington Post article highlights how it happened, starting with a rogue NFL employee in the social media department reaching out to Michael Thompson saying, listen, I'm frustrated. I want you, I'm with you. I want to help. I don't think the NFL's statement was good enough. How can we help? And they helped put together that video. The reason why I bring that up is because there's a source cited in that article discussing how, no doubt, the NFL is going to get some backlash from a certain percentage of fans. Right, without a doubt, you take a stance that a lot of fans were against 4 years ago. Guess what? Those feelings haven't gone away. If anything, they've intensified and gotten stronger these last few weeks and maybe even years. So Goodell knew what he was doing in that a certain portion of the fan base, we don't know how big, but a certain portion of the fan base will be upset. He knew President Trump was going to be upset. Still did it anyway. So I commend the NFL for taking somewhat of a stance that's not controversial is not the right word. It shouldn't be controversial to accept and agree with the Black Lives Matter movement, but controversial in the fact that knowing that it's going to get a section of the fan base upset, knowing that it could drive away fans like it did a few years ago, and still going through with it anyway. And on that topic, on that note, the NFL took an extra step that really, honestly, they never do. Think about it. They put out a statement like most leagues, like most teams on May 30th, basically, condoning and condemning racism. But really, it was hollow and it was very hypocritical because obviously here's the NFL speaking out against what happened to George Floyd, but yet, they were the ones who tried to silence and then eventually blackballed Colin Kaepernick out of the NFL for speaking up and protesting what exactly happened, essentially. So it was very hypocritical, but it was out there. The NFL, they can take bad PR. We've known that for a fact. They'll put out a statement. They'll ride by it. They'll let the waves of criticism roll in. Then a week, 2 weeks, a month later, people forget. Okay, it's business as usual. But for Roger Goodell to take it a step further personally, by saying, quote, "I personally protest with you and want to be part of the much-needed change in this country," end quote. I do think that's powerful, and I do buy in to what he's saying for a positive. So look, again, I told you, I'm an optimist. I hope I'm not trying to just, wish something into existence, or I'm not trying to take something that's not there and try to spin it around to say, hey, this is a positive. I am hopeful change is happening because now we're starting to see, whether it's leagues, whether it's players, whether it's coaches, owners, whoever, people are speaking out that normally weren't speaking out 4 years ago, and now recognize the problem and are trying to not pretend like they, that they were wanting to help a few years ago. That's what I respect the NFL admitting, hey, we had a chance 4 years ago, 3 years ago, we didn't listen. The NFL rarely admits that they're wrong, and they admitted that they are wrong in that situation. And this is how truly change happens. It's recognizing what we did or didn't do a few years ago, looking yourself in the mirror and saying, how can I be better going forward? How can I be the reason for change, not just basically bury my head in the sand and hope change happens, but hope someone else does change? So, well, it's just a video. Well, it's just words. I think it's a really good start, and I hope that the NFL will take action. We'll see whether it's allowing players to kneel, whether it's starting more social injustice groups within the players, whether it's promoting and helping players with their own platforms give back and bring awareness. So we'll see what the NFL can do. There's tons of variation, especially with the major platform they have. The most popular sport in America, maybe arguably the greatest and most powerful corporation so far in the country. They've been a tremendous platform to actually institute change. And again, we have to see put in action. But so far with that video, I give the NFL more credit than not. They didn't have to do it. They could have just wrote out the bad publicity, and then keep going business as usual. So I truly do believe that change is happening, and partly because Roger Goodell, again, is admitting Black Lives Matter, admitting we messed up a few years ago, and how can we be a part of the change for the good? I commend the commissioner, I commend the NFL going forward, and I really do hope that they act on those words and make those words good going forward. So I'd love to get your thoughts. If you listen to the video for the first time, what'd you think? I know for me, it was surprising. I had to watch it twice just because it's like, is the NFL really saying this? Is the NFL actually taking a stance? Not just doing whatever is good for business, which, as we know, that's their MO. If it makes money, it makes sense. That's how the NFL rolls, and now they are actually taking a stand for good. It's good to see.